August 29, 2024. He was my father-in-law and friend for over 40 years. He was a thoughtful, gentle, and serious person. The few times I saw him laugh was whenever I kiddingly got Pat's goat, usually at the expense of her boilerplate views on men. It worked because she thought I didn't fit that mold. John was born on June 9, 1936, the same year as my brother. He was brought up Irish Catholic and majored in English at school. He joined the Navy in 1955 as a midshipman in a shipyard where he worked alongside his father, with whom he had a strained relationship. He blamed the alienation on his father and never quite came to grips with it. In the mid-1960s, he married Marilyn and converted to Judaism. They had 4 eccentric, precocious children, Mike, Dave, Dan, and Liz. At the time, he worked in middle-level management at a bank, and later worked for the state prison system as a data cruncher. But, like a lot of Irish, he developed a strong attraction to drink, especially port and cream sherry. In his words, he did not become an alcoholic. Instead, the alcoholism in his nature manifested itself and he gave in to it. Dave does not recall any particularly deleterious consequences from his drinking. Kids seldom do. But his relationship with his kids suffered through neglect and his marriage fell apart. Then he met the recently divorced Pat Cobos, a woman who had dated Elvis, had been addicted to heroin, overcame it, and helped establish the Arizona branch of Narcotics Anonymous. They bonded on their addictions, a commonality that played an important dynamic for the rest of their lives. Exemplified by attending AA meetings weekly, sometimes daily, and posting 3 copies of the Serenity Prayer on their wall. With Pat, John converted again, this time to a non-denominational Christianity, Pat's preferred faith. But then, when Pat died, he asked me to dump all books with a reference to Jesus, along with all feminist books. What to make of John's shifting religious allegiances? Was he a spiritual flake? Never. John was deeply spiritual, bordering on the mystical.
Warning, light is on.
It seemed to me that he combined AA's concept of a higher power with his ongoing spiritual quest. His favorite author, philosopher, was Carl Jung. He was very literary, gravitating especially to poetry. Shakespeare, T.S. Eliot, Auden, Yeats, Joyce, and others. Plus, he read all my books and articles. I could never relate to John and Pat's love affair. I believe they continued to have sex until Pat's untimely death, an indication of deep intimacy. 2 very large people, they slept not in a queen-size bed, but in a double bed I'd built. On the advice of a counselor, they adhered to the odd custom of writing each other daily love letters. I had the privilege of reading many of them when I helped to edit their belongings after Pat's death in anticipation of moving John into a smaller assisted living arrangement. Yet they didn't have a very good algorithm for resolving disputes. Pat could be domineering and speak impulsively, sometimes abusively without forethought. She once told John to, quote unquote, grow a pair in front of Tina and me. We were flabbergasted. John was impassive, as if he thought, that's just Pat. She doesn't really mean it. And she didn't. Once she was off her high horse, Tina pointed out what she'd said, which she didn't remember. So she apologized profusely to John. There was no arguing with her effectively when she got strident. John never argued with her. He instead resorted to passive-aggressive behavior to counter Pat's dominance and his unwillingness to assert himself. I never heard John use profanity. Yet, inevitably, some conversations' intensity might near argumentation, which to them was equivalent to fighting. Both relied on their memory, accusing each other of misremembering. So it was suggested that they record these sorts of conversations, and so they did. Pat was amazed that she did not accurately recall what she had said. Next, not to extol John's virtues at Pat's expense, she had an instinctive wisdom that sometimes came out and cut through relationship Gordian knots. Once saving Tina's and my budding relationship by stating that you take your mate at his word. Don't psychoanalyze. Don't second guess thinking you know their intentions better than they do. Don't psychoanalyze. There is nothing to read between the lines, unless it was a politician or a drunk. Perhaps the strangest habit they developed to resolve potential conflicts was their my day, your day formula. It was contrived because they had a difficult time resolving what to do through discussion. But the my day, your day agreement wasn't just limited to activities. It extended into topics of conversation, which sometimes led to abrupt non sequiturs between them. They admired Tina's and mine ability to argue effectively, which we weren't shy about doing in front of them. Did John possess deep wisdom, a wide-ranging tolerance, or was he, as some have described him, Pat's doormat? A bit of all three, I think, but it was his way, in ways I failed to fully fathom. He and I differed on politics and religion, but we always had long, enjoyable conversations on these topics. I sensed a bit of cognitive dissonance in his seeming agreement with most of my arguments, yet reverting as if instinctually to his previous mean. For many years, Tina and I would drive up to the Grand Canyon before dawn on New Year's, breakfast at the El Tovar, and then hike down the Bright Angel Trail to the river, eat lunch, and hike back up the Kaibab Trail. On many of those occasions, John and Pat would join us at the park for breakfast, and John would hike down to Indian Gardens with us. One year, they accompanied us to Yosemite with John's brother Bill tagging along. They wanted to watch us climb. He was a quiet and thoughtful interlocutor who was often dominated by Pat, which frustrated him. When she died, his grief was profound and immeasurable, yet he admitted to a sense of liberation without her. For John's last birthday, Amy and I cooked potato latkes and Hungarian goulash. The celebration became more poignant when his brother Bill called. They talked for half an hour. Both knew this would be their last contact. During his last few days at a nursing facility, Tina and I stopped by to see him. We sensed this would be our last goodbye. His strength, including his ability to talk, was faltering. Tina stepped outside so he and I could share our final thoughts. Unfortunately, love triumphed. Too many visitors suddenly appeared in a show of affection and support. The tete-a-tete I'd envisioned was impossible in a crowd. It is my only regret. I already miss him dearly. That's it.